Now, how about them damn Celtics?
And we are back with another episode of How About Them Celtics. Sam and I are here recording Saturday, March 28th. Celtics on a nice little 2-game win streak against two really good basketball teams. They have a few more games against really good basketball teams in a row coming up with the Hornets and Hawks again on their schedule. And even the Heat have been playing decently well, at least in the second half of the season. And it's a bit of a gauntlet before the playoffs, but they've started it off on a pretty good note. How you doing, Sam?
Doing good. Excited for the show. Fun slate of games coming up, as Jack mentioned. Some good teams. We'll be out on the road this week, so a little fun. Sucks that it's going to get warm here as soon as we leave, but what can you do? Fun show on the way. We'll talk a little bit about the latest surrounding Jaylen Brown. Honestly, by the time this comes out, you guys might have more info on this because the injury report will probably drop at some point between 2:47 p.m. and
probably in a couple hours,
8 a.m. Sunday. But right now we know he has Achilles tendonitis. He missed Friday's game, so we'll discuss it. Celtics went out to team outing this week. We'll talk about that. We'll go through your emails, go around the NBA, talk about the anti-tank potential ideas to fix tanking because everybody hates tanking so much. And we'll do the rally list. We'll get out of here. It should be a lot of fun. Stick around through all of it. We're here every single day. Subscribe, hit the bell. You don't want to miss any of the content. Full pods drop Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. Game recaps morning after each game. Other videos are here in between to keep you up to date with all things Celtics. But yes, without further ado, Jaylen Brown missed Friday's game, and people are moderately worried.
Yeah. I mean, listen, this isn't going to be one of those sections of the podcast where we drop a bunch of information and are like, okay, this is what happened. This is this. Joe was asked about it a couple times. Adam Himmelsbach asked him before the game. Bobby Manning asked him after the game. He said day-to-day. That was the extent of his information. He gave nothing past that. He was never going to give any. Yeah. He was never going to give anything past that. That was always going to be the extent of his answer. This is more of a thought process type thing. My general thought process is I'm not going to be super worried until the playoffs start. And that's a scary thing to say out loud. I would be utterly shell-shocked if Jaylen Brown missed a playoff game. If Jaylen Brown is not active for the start of the playoffs, I'll give one of you guys listening $100. I refuse to believe.
I'd like to enter the pool.
Absolutely.
Now you start rooting against his medical progress publicly.
No. Everything we've seen this season has been Jaylen Brown playing at an extremely high level, playing through bumps and bruises. And is it possible that something popped up in the last few days that's a real concern and he could miss time? Sure. But I think the more likely scenario is one of a few things, right? One, general rest. I don't think they would list Achilles tendonitis for no reason. He's probably dealing with a little soreness there, but I don't think it's significant enough to be that concerning. He was questionable. He didn't just go straight to out. He was questionable and then he was down. He wasn't even doubtful, right? So that's the first thing. And the second thing is maybe he misses 5 or 6 games to end the season here. He's at 65 already. He's good. He doesn't need to worry about his All-NBA campaign. If he misses 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or whatever games, it doesn't matter, right? As long as they get him healthy and rested for the playoffs. If this is just the type of thing, it's okay, there's a little bit of stuff here. Let's have you rest for a week or two. Sure. Rest for a week or two, Jaylen. Do it. That's okay. And then he'll be back. I don't think I'm going to think of this as a long-term problem until the playoffs begin, because unless there is something they're really not telling us, which that doesn't seem to be the vibe, considering I know you mentioned he streamed right after the Thunder game, right? He was at the game the other day. He was on the bench. It doesn't feel like it's a bigger problem. So until the playoffs start, I am not too concerned.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be a little concerning to me if he's not active tomorrow with the same thing. I was talking about it with people today because I went out to breakfast with some friends and they were asking about Jaylen. And I was like, well, the thing about Jaylen is this season when they've rested him, typically they say he's illness. That is what they put him for, is illness. So the fact that it wasn't illness right away, it also does not really project as a game that would have been a scheduled sit for Jaylen. They're playing a back-to-back today and tomorrow as you're listening to this. One of these games would have been the one where I'm like, wonder if Jaylen forgot the Dayquil on this trip. What's going on here? But instead, you're met with this weird Achilles tendonitis diagnosis. And I'm kind of on the fence of what I think it is in terms of seriousness, because I stand by it. Like, I really don't think if he was ailing that badly, he would have played that well on Wednesday. I don't think he would have went on Twitch after if he was in a bunch of pain. Like, it just doesn't make sense that would have been the thing. He was at the soccer game with the team, as we'll talk about in a minute.
Yeah.
But I cannot put it simply as like if he's healthy for the playoffs or not, because in the short term, like we're gonna have to think for the next 2-3 weeks until the playoffs start about like, is he going to be healthy? Is he not going to be healthy? Like we're going to have to talk about it if he's out for time. So right now it's a little concerning because it opens the door for there to be a chance where he is not healthy for the first round of the playoffs, but we don't know yet.
Yeah, and we won't know. I'll say this: he has been listed a lot with illness, like that has been largely. I don't know if largely, but he has been listed with that quite a few times. He's been listed with a lot of stuff this season, though. I'm gonna pull up the Celtics PR page because I want to fact check the Fox Sports injury history, excuse me, listings that they have going, and I just want to make sure. I'm just gonna go on the Twitter feed and control F Jaylen for the past few months, because based on what I'm seeing on the Fox Sports injury feed, he's been listed as hamstring before. He's been listed as the Minnesota game, he was probably with a left quad contusion. So there was that. Obviously, this past one was calf tightness upgrade or downgraded, I should say, to the Achilles tendonitis. But there was also hamstring tightness back in January that he was dealing with. That was also for the Indiana game. He was dealing with hamstring tightness. So that was like 2 back-to-back games where he was listed on the report. Obviously, I don't think he ended up sitting both. Maybe he did, but there was that. If you go back even further, October at the very beginning of the season, obviously you had the hamstring reconditioning with the meniscus stuff. There just have been different things throughout the course of the season that Jaylen has been listed with, which it doesn't make it any less significant. Like, I obviously think there are things to be cautious about when you see him upgraded or downgraded, I should say, to the out with the Achilles tendonitis. But this isn't the first like non-injury thing, like low back spasms back in November. Like there have been things throughout the season that he has been dealing with. They could have just left it as calf tightness and called him out, right? Like, so I don't think that's insignificant. But I mean, yeah, looking here, calf, quad against the Wolves. He's had knee back in February, hamstring end of January, back in middle of January, back end of November, hamstring, knee. Like, he's getting bumped and bruised. So I'm like I said, I'll start to be concerned if we're getting down to, if he doesn't play in any of the games throughout this season. But even then, I think they're just going to prioritize the playoffs at this point, and I think that's going to be the whole point.
Yeah, I don't think the playoff priority is in question. I think the plethora of injuries that you mentioned kind of makes this more significant because at the beginning of the season, he was battling a hamstring. Like, that was a real thing he was talking about in press conferences. He was saying him and the training staff were kind of monitoring it. I believe he heard it in the preseason. And then, he didn't miss any time at the beginning of the year, but he was saying like he could feel it and things of that matter. It was something we all had to monitor at the very least. So I wouldn't be shocked if this keeps him out a little bit. I'm sure the team is being very cautious with it. I'm sure the training staff is doing everything they can to stretch him out, to relieve the tension and the tendon rubbing against bone, which is, I think, what causes tendonitis, if I remember correctly. And ultimately, like with tendonitis, unfortunately, I think one of the big solutions to that is rest and letting everything heal, and then making sure the muscles are loose enough to where that doesn't become a recurring issue the next time you take the court again. So I know Phil, who listens to the show, said he's dealt with tendonitis in the past, like good friend of the program. Justin Turpin is also dealing with Achilles tendonitis, so he and Jaylen can ride together on this one. But I've heard the timeline could be up to a month from certain individuals.
Well,
for the general case of Achilles tendonitis, not for Jaylen.
This is not a general case. This is a person who has 24/7 hour, access to physical therapy. Jaylen Brown has done more physical therapy than everybody listening to the show combined in the last year than they've done in their entire life. Like that's the realistic.
I just did a HIPAA on Turpin.
Yeah, like that's just kind of what it is, right? Like he is going to get better treatment for this issue than anybody else could dream of because of the situation, and his body is his job. Like that is what he does. So there's that. I will also say the injury report's probably out by now. I wouldn't be too worried about the Charlotte game because this is a Charlotte Atlanta back to back, and if Jaylen was to want to play in either, he'd probably want to
Good
play in
point.
Atlanta. So if you're looking at it like, oh my god, he's out for Charlotte, don't treat it as nothing, but there's a chance that he's only going to play in one of the back to back, and he wants to play in his home city. So that's also just something to consider before any freakouts occur. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not too concerned at the moment. That could change, but I feel I don't think he'll miss time in the playoffs. That's my whole thing, and I think that's what matters most anyway. So, before we continue, I'll tell you guys about PrizePicks. PrizePicks, the best place to get real money sports action this baseball season, this basketball season, this whatever season you are looking for or watching or whatever it is. Make sure to check it out on PrizePicks. The playoff push is heating up and tournament hoops are here. And there's no better way to cash in if you're right on the high flying hoops action than on PrizePicks, where it always feels good to be right. Every bucket, every dime, and every win means more when you're playing on PrizePicks. And with their brand new team picks markets, you can now pick game winners, spreads, and totals on top of the player picks you already know. So cash in if you're right during all the clutch buckets, slam dunks, and Cinderellas this spring with team picks on PrizePicks. You can pick the winner straight up on PrizePicks. Who's going to win the next big basketball game? Who's going to win the fight? Back your takes with your own money. On PrizePicks, you can even pick who's going to cut down the nets in a couple of weeks or who's going to win a ring this summer, whether it's the tournament, the playoffs, or even the international. The international baseball tournament's over, but you can call the shot and cash in if you make the right picks on PrizePicks. Team Picks, the new feature, is now available in 35 states, including California, Texas, Georgia, Washington, and more. It makes it super easy to pick game winners, spreads, and totals all on PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app today and pick your first game winner, spread, or total as the playoff push rolls on, and get $50 in daily fantasy lineups when you play your first $5 lineup when you use code CLNS. That's code CLNS to get $50 in daily fantasy lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. But back to the Celtics. Next thing is soccer. There's really not much here.
Back to the Celtics.
But
the next thing is soccer.
It's soccer. The Celtics went to the France-Brazil friendly game at Gillette Stadium the other day. It seemed like everybody was there. I know a bunch of coaches were there. I know people throughout the organization were there. Players were there. I think Tatum did the coin flip at the start of the match. There wasn't too much on it. Ugo said it was cool when he was asked about it at shoot around in the morning. Joe talked about it very briefly. He said it was a good chance to get together with everybody, which has been a point for them this year. But if nothing else, just kind of cool, just kind of sick that they got to do that. I mean, you couldn't really ask for a better game to go to. France and Brazil is pretty insane.
Yeah. Personally thought it would have been fun to go. Glad that they got to go. It was cool to see just kind of the connections that were there, like Ugo and Mbappe taking a photo together, both Real Madrid guys now, Mbappe previously at Paris.
He said he got to meet Casemiro too, so it's pretty cool.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, so probably a really cool day for Ugo. I know Jaylen he may have a Brazilian soccer jersey hanging in his locker. So I think that was a pretty cool moment for all those guys. And the Celtics have made a huge habit of hanging out with each other this year, which everyone cares so much about. When we did the wrestling video, literally nobody watched it. But it's been like a theme of the week where I partly feel like the way that they are intentional about spending time together off the court, like it sounds simple, but like, let's not all forget that 6 months ago, Chris Paul had a Halloween party and nobody went. So it's not always like a given that in the NBA teams are going to be friendly. They're going to get together. They're going to spend time together. But I feel like the amount that they've done that this year and the close knitness of this group is part of the reason why they are overachieving. It's much easier to go through hard times or to sacrifice minutes and be out of the rotation for guys that you like to root for, guys that you like to spend time with, people that you actually support, instead of feeling like, man, I deserve it over this guy. He's a bum. I'm better than him. As ridiculous as it sounds, I'm sure there's plenty of guys in the NBA that have had those feelings in the past, and it makes things more difficult, more tension in locker rooms when, teams go on skids. You have the players only meetings and stuff. It just feels like organizationally, the Celtics have great camaraderie, and it goes a long way for their success.
Sorry, my audio cut out and my computer started whirring halfway through that. Listen, I don't think it's nothing that the Celtics have built this relationship. I go back to a quote that like Evan Turner had when he was here for an event, and I asked him about because I know he's talked about before, like being on those Sixers process teams, and I asked him about like what like he said the Celtics just like don't like they know how to not lose. Like they just don't lose. Like that's just not in them. And I was like, what does that like look like? And he talked about like when he first got there as a coach, it was just Tatum working out after the games and lifting. And then it was like another person, then another person, then another person. And you talk to anybody on the team and you hear Luka Garza say, "Yeah, when I got traded, Sam Hauser came up to me and just said, keep your head up. We're gonna need you. Like, don't worry, we got you." And I've talked to a bunch of people about coaches for a story I'm working on. They're just like, it's like incredible. Like, yeah, everybody here is just an amazing human being. I've gotten so close. We're great friends. Like, it's more than like it's just you don't really see that in other organizations. That's not really a thing that happens throughout the league. It happens in very specific situations, and then you can tell what those organizations are, right? Like it's Boston, it's Miami, it's so many niche places where all you hear is look how great these teams are for so long. San Antonio, right? Like building a winning culture is more than just that statement, right? It's more than just saying, "Oh, like we have a winning culture." It is putting in the work to get there, doing everything to create a community, and then building on that on the court. And the Celtics have done a great job of that for years. And Joe Mazzulla has carried on the next sort of, legacy or the next chapter.
Yeah, remember when Phoenix used to like do the lifts every time they had a game, like when they were good a couple years ago? Like I think that stuff
Yep.
actually does matter. Like there's a communal desire to get better. And within the Celtics organization, it's so clear, it feels like Joe's personality really rubs off on these guys and he'll never admit it. Like he never takes credit for anything. Like he could win coach of the year. He'll tell you he doesn't deserve it. Staff deserves it. Players deserve the recognition. Like he doesn't want that kind of attention, but there's no getting around that he's the perfect fit for the way the Celtics have been built, at least the last couple of years since he took over. He's gotten guys to sacrifice. He's gotten guys to play above the level that they're capable of. Like this season is a prime example. I mean, going into the year, that was one of the big talking points was, okay, we're going to find out what Joe's made of. Remember, we were all thinking like, oh, like this is the first time they don't have a stacked roster. There's not five former all-star guys in the starting lineup, this, that, and the other. And they've come out and kick ass. They believe in each other. There's real camaraderie. It's almost like a new version of the Ubuntu thing that Doc Rivers had, but it's like there's no gimmick to it. Or I don't even want to say a gimmick, but there's no like focal point. There's no one thing that they point to. It's just like, hey, we all like each other and it's cool to play basketball together. And they truly believe that. Like, look at Ugo and Baylor's relationship, two guys who kind of are in the same avenue for trying to get minutes. Like they do similar things. They're similar size. They play similar roles at times. And they are two guys that support each other. Noah did the story last week about Luka Garza and Neemias Queta. It's the same thing. These are two guys who are battling it out for minutes, and they couldn't be happier to see one another succeed. That goes a long way. Like Garza and Nimi could hate each other because they both think that they deserve the time and the other one shouldn't be getting it. And I think it's also credit to the front office for finding the right people to join the team and be here for this part of the journey.
Yeah, it's very cool. It's cool to see. All right, let's jump over to the emails. A reminder, as always, you guys can email us at hbtcpod@gmail.com. That's hbtcpod@gmail.com. We have two emails today to go over, one from RJ, one from Rob. So let's check them out. RJ says, and now for something completely different. Evening, folks. After writing a Celtics fans guides to enjoying the 26 playoffs for Celtics blog, I thought it was only a fair forensics club practice that I take the opposite side of the argument. What's the realistic look for this year's house money postseason? As good as JB and Derek White have been this year in past playoff runs, they're not surrounded by the caliber of talent that we saw in 24-25. Kristaps, Luke Cornett, and Al Horford have been replaced with Neemias Queta, Luka Garza, and realistically speaking, Sam Hauser for the outside shooting touch. The defense, ball handling, and spot shooting that Drew Holiday provided has been offloaded to a committee led by Peyton Pritchard, staffed with Ugo Gonzalez, Baylor Sherman, Ron Harper Jr., and Jordan, last seen on the back of Mill Carton Walsh. He's back. And while we do have Jason Tatum suiting up, he's more laundry than consistently laudable play. I'm not picking on JT, but he's busting his butt to get back into playing shape. But 6 weeks of game action doesn't make up for 10 months of surgical rehab, atrophied muscles, and rusty game reflexes. These Celtics should move through the first round in reasonable shape with their toughest matchup, the possibility of drawing Charles Lee's Hornets, provided they hold the 2 seed. The Hawks in the 6th spot are just as annoying as the Hornets. Second round matchup against the retooled for Boston Knicks is likely where this year's fun ride comes to an end. Getting to the ECF or beyond is pure gravy. Ultimately, this year is about learning and growing and continuing to develop. Next year, well, that's a different matter. Be well, RJ, who's enjoying the ride nonetheless. I think there's a realistic element to this where it's like no one really expected the season going in. And so I don't think anybody would be. I think they would be, but I don't think in hindsight it's a disappointment. But I do think there's higher expectations now.
Yeah, there's definitely higher expectations. I'm like broken in the sense that I can't enjoy anything. I've enjoyed this season a lot. I think it's been a lot of fun in all seriousness. But thinking about like going into the season, right? Like I think we all thought that Cleveland would be similar to what they were last year in terms of the way that they won games. I remember when the Celtics beat them back in October, it was a really big deal because the Celtics did not look good at that time. Cleveland was struggling out the gates, but the expectations for Cleveland were still there. And then New York, I think coming in too, we all thought that they would have been a little bit better than what they're at now, having had a whole season of that group being together, having had some playoff success. And I think those two teams in particular factored into the Celtics expectations being lower, even on top of the personnel changes in Boston, the loss, the overturn of players, things of that. But now that they're here and we've seen the Celtics compete with the league's best, they have wins over Oklahoma City. They have beaten Detroit 1 out of 4 times, but they were in all those games. They're 1-2 against New York right now, another game against them on April 9th. So that'll be a probably big result one way or another for us to take going to the playoffs, be like, oh, this is what we think. But I think you're getting really great production out of a lot of guys you didn't expect to get that production from either. And so when you consider that, it's just like, yeah, it is gravy, but at the same time, you have to take advantage of this because who knows how long you can keep this group together, how long it's going to be before Giannis gets traded somewhere and makes some team better, maybe in the Eastern Conference. How long is it going to be till Wemby makes the Spurs an unbeatable type force? How long is OKC going to be this good? Like, there are so many different talking points in that regard where you should absolutely enjoy every step of this ride this season. A lot of us, including me, thought that the Celtics would be in the lottery, and they are second in the East. It seems like they are firmly second in the East with a couple weeks left, and that should be celebrated. But once the playoffs come around, I think we're all going to be I'll be in the torture chamber again, especially if they end up playing the Knicks. Can't lose to the Knicks again. It would kill me.
I mean, I agree to a sense. I'll play devil's advocate a little bit. How do we know what Baylor Shireman's going to look like in the playoffs?
We don't.
No idea.
I would say OKC on Wednesday is a decent indicator because that game had playoff atmosphere.
Playoff atmosphere doesn't mean anything, though. It doesn't mean anything. It really doesn't. Like the Knicks Celtics games last regular season probably had playoff atmosphere, and it didn't matter for shit. How do we know Nemish Kane is going to hold up in the postseason when teams are running smaller rotations? They're playing their starting big men for longer. I think he'll be fine, but we don't really know. What about Luka Garza? Is he going to hold up? What about Vooch in this system when he comes back? Like, there's really a lot of questions to be had about this year's Celtics playoff team. And so I do think, while in my opinion, I think they can beat anybody in a series, I do think they have a chance to win a championship this year. And I do think that there can be a level of expectations based on what we've seen. If I told you, like us talking on the show in September, that I thought the Celtics would be a finals team, you would have called me an idiot. Genuinely.
Yeah, I would have been like, you're such a homer, you're drunk.
You probably would have gotten mad. You probably would have gotten angry.
No, I actually would have gotten mad probably. You're like, I'm not disputing that. That would have been a ridiculous take at the time.
And so, well, I think it's fair to recalibrate. There also has to be a level of perspective. They're just like, there has to be, because the same people who said the Celtics should tank and we're a lottery team are going to be the same people bitching and moaning if they do get bounced in the second or the Eastern Conference Finals, right? Exactly. And so I get it. I understand. I'm not saying that's an invalid way to feel because there are new expectations now, but there's a lot that goes into it. And you just have to take everything in. You know damn well sure that Joe Mazzulla believes they should win the fucking finals, right? Like, so all of our feelings don't matter at all. But then there's also, what does Jason Tatum look like by then? Are they gonna be able to seamlessly fit him into it? We talked about Jaylen Brown's thing start of the year. What if that actually does pop? Like, there's just so much that can happen in the course of a postseason run. And I think the perspective is important while also realizing that expectations can be new and updated.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have to see the answers to a lot of those questions. I think they're valid questions. I think, you know, wondering what you're going to get out of a lot of these guys who are getting opportunity for the first time is very valid. But I, to their credit, I think those guys have shown up in big games that have, like, I stand by your point about, like, last year they swept the Knicks. Like, the Knicks looked like a joke. Still can't believe they lost to them, but they lost to them. And the regular season doesn't always matter. But to be able to compete in a environment like Wednesdays, or I mean, honestly, take your pick. Like, they played the game in San Antonio was another one. The game in OKC is one. Like, there have been several examples this year where the Celtics have been in games that both teams clearly wanted to win. Both teams are trying to prove a point. Maybe OKC less than the rest of the teams because they're champs, so they don't. I mean, just thinking back to last year, how often did you really feel like the Celtics had a point to prove? Probably not that often. But like, San Antonio has a point to prove. New York has points to prove. Detroit is trying to prove they're a real team. And you've gotten, like, good showings from these guys in a lot of those games. So I think that's something to feel good about. And to have Baylor be versatile enough to cover Wemby in clutch time in Boston, even though he didn't get a stop, it was like he made him uncomfortable.
No,
He got him to shoot a elbow jumper. Like, weird thing for me to just hang my hat on in this discussion. But, I think that they have
I mean,
seen good things from these guys. Go ahead.
yeah. I don't think it's a question of whether or not they can play, but I think every year Al Horford was in Boston, he shot 40% from three in the regular season and 30% in the postseason, or vice versa, right? Like, the reality of the situation is the playoffs is such a small sample size theater game that if Baylor Shireman has his shot fall off for a second, or Sam Hauser has his shot fall off for a second, or Jason Tatum gets in his head and the rust kicks in, or Jaylen Brown's meniscus or Achilles or whatever flares up, or Derek White, doesn't have a shot going, or Peyton Pritchard loses his rhythm, or teams, stick their best defenders and they switch their coverages, and the Pistons have Asar Thompson on the floor for 46 minutes instead of 32 minutes guarding Peyton Pritchard, or like, things just tighten up a lot in the playoffs. Like, it's just such a different environment. Like, Baylor Shireman can play great against Wemby for that 5-minute stretch, but Wemby played 20 minutes that night, and he'll probably play 38, 40 in the playoffs, right? The Pistons and the Celtics played each other extremely tightly. Karis LeVert's probably not seeing the floor in the playoffs, and they're probably just going to roll with Asar Thompson and Duncan Robinson and Dennis Jenkins for more minutes. Like, a lot of things just get harder to break down as the postseason goes on. And so I think there are just factors that are inevitably going to pop up, but we'll see. Questions will be answered. Second and last email from Rob. Small ball 5. Hi, folks. Great win versus OKC. We saw Joe go to the small ball lineup for extended minutes with JT at the 5. I think it could be situationally useful against smaller teams, or if the opponent goes small as well in certain clutch scenarios. With that said, I do think there's a better configuration than what Joe has used. This 5, D. White, Baylor, Ugo, JB, JT. Joe has employed one of Hauser or Pritchard in these small ball lineups, and I saw OKC consistently attacking this weak point. With the lineup, I suggested there would be no weak point. There's enough shooting, while Ugo can be used in the corners as a screener or in the dunker spot, 4 out or in 1 in lineup. I'm fine with subbing in Hauser or Ugo for Ugo if Ugo isn't making shots, or if PP for offense over defensive swaps. Thoughts on these if you have a different small ball lineup you would want? The above also made me think of a couple things. If we're doing small ball spots, why not try using Walsh at the 5? He has gone from the rotation, been gone for the rotation for such a long time. I'm no advocate of Walsh due to his slow processing on offense, but I do still think he brings something to the table. Ugo and Baylor don't. The other thing I thought about is we're going small ball to be able to switch everything. This made me miss having Allen Time Lord. We clearly have a need for a new switchable big in the offseason. Would you guys want to bring Time Lord back on a vet min? Are there any cheaper switchable bigs you'd want Brad to target? Let's go Celtics, Rob version 1. Okay, let's go 1-1. What do you think of the small ball lineup Rob suggested, Sam?
I'm a bad lineups guy. I'll admit it. But what I will say is I do remember clocking that Tatum was at the small ball 5. I think it was yesterday that I saw it, and it was like, things haven't gone great since they went to that. Like, it hasn't been overly effective. It's definitely an interesting
Oh,
look.
I've liked the small ball lineups a lot.
Okay, well, I would take Jack's feeling on this
no.
more validly than
You're allowed
mine,
to
because I
have your
really don't have
opinion.
strong feelings on it. I feel like I saw like someone be like, they're doing the small ball 5, and then things got worse yesterday. But if you have like educated, informed, smart thoughts, please share them, because I think you have all your notes and everything. Like, I'm sure there's more substance to that than my thoughts on the small ball lineup.
No. I mean, I liked it in the Thunder game in particular. I thought it worked well because Chet isn't as good of a like big man presence down low, and so Tatum was able to kind of roam
They
a
have
little
similar
bit.
builds.
And when you have and when you have guys you can help off of, I think that helps too. Like having Dyson Daniels in the lineup gives Jason Tatum more freedom to roam as the small ball center rather than just like banging down low. I think those are the real times when the Celtics will be able to use it. I just think it left to be switchable. I thought it was pretty offensively versatile. I thought they could go to different things in that regard. I don't think it's perfect, but I do think there is a use for it. Like Rob said, I like the lineup Rob put in here with Baylor and Ugo. I don't hate having Hauser or Pritchard in it, but I do think against certain lineups, maybe you could go for the more defense. I do think you run into a small spacing thing with Baylor and Ugo because teams are just more willing to leave them open. But then again, like if you're comfortable with Baylor and Ugo shooting, which they've both been pretty okay shooters this year, like I don't think it's too bad. So there's that. But I think there is a place for small ball lineups for the Celtics team, especially with Tatum's defensive presence. As far as the Walsh at the 5, I struggle to back the Walsh at the 5. I think there's a place for him to earn a little bit more chances down the stretch. He's just so there's a constant danger of him like mistiming something or getting into foul trouble or like making mistakes. And I think that would only be exacerbated when he is constantly having to guard the pick and roll in a different role than he's used to guarding the pick and roll, if that makes sense. Like he's not going to be navigating screens. He's going to be hedging. He's going to be dropping back. He's like, you basically have to teach him a whole new coverage. And if he can learn that, like maybe it's something you try, but he's also really skinny. It feels like he's not really built. Like Tatum's like jacked. Tatum's like a big dude. Walsh is more of like a scrawnier Ugo or not even Ugo defender, because I think Ugo at the 5 is better than Walsh at the 5, if anything, honestly.
Yeah,
they did that earlier in the season.
One of Walsh's best assets. I mean, defensive rebounding has been a big thing for him at times this season. It was one of the things earlier in the season that you were like, whoa, he's really awesome at this, and it's helpful. But as a perimeter defender, he has really had moments this season where you're like, wow, he did a great job on Max. He did a great job on this guy, that guy. He can really stick with the opposing team's best player. And that's an important thing for somebody who's trying to get minutes, right? You can trust them to go out there, bust their ass for however long you want the stint to be, and then pull them out when they look a little tired and make things more difficult on the opposing superstar. But if you're going to have him playing the center role, I think you made a great point about learning what his new role would be in the pick and roll coverage. And you just kind of remove his best thing that he does. Defensive rebounding is cool and it's still important, but he can do that from anywhere. He doesn't have to have the C next to his name and the lineup card to do it. So I think you're better off with somebody who has more muscle. Like, as a guy who lacks muscle personally, I hate when I'm taken off the perimeter to guard low instead of guarding the perimeter, like against smaller ball handlers that I can use my length as an advantage. So I'm sure it's very similar for Walsh as I compare myself to an NBA player. But what can you do? It's a real thing. Jack made a great point about the pick and roll stuff. And it just feels like you're asking, it's almost like in baseball when you ask somebody to play like the corner instead of middle infield or move their position to somewhere they're not really used to.
Yeah. I will also say, if the Celtics are running small ball lineups, I think I'm only interested in Tatum at the 5 for the most part. Maybe Ugo, but the whole purpose of it is to add more offensive flexibility. And in order to have that, if you were to run Ugo or Jordan at the 5, you would probably want to have both Jaylen and Jason on the floor. And if Jason's already on the floor, I'd rather him just be the small ball 5 because he's better equipped. So I feel like there's that too. But as far as the Rob point, I'm not really interested in Rob. I don't think that he is going to be healthy enough to give the Celtics the consistency, and I don't think they have the what's it called? They don't really have the breathing room or luxury to sign a guy who might not be on the court that often.
Depends what happens with Vooch. It depends what they want to do with whatever money they end up with if he does not come back, right? If they decide they could use an Anthony Simons type more than a Rob type, that could be a real thing. There are times this season where it does feel like they could use an added scoring punch when Pritchard and White both don't really have it. Lately, they've been fortunate enough where it doesn't really hurt them, but I feel like you get it once in a while and they're like, damn, that sucks. I also feel like Vucevic could be somewhat of a solution to that. But as far as Rob goes, it does feel like a lower risk play if you get him at the right price. I don't know what Rob's market's going to be. I do know when Rob has been healthy this year, I'm going to look up to see how much he's actually been healthy. He's looked pretty similar to himself. You would expect the athleticism. You would expect the shot blocking ability to kind of drop. He's appeared in 52 games for the Blazers thus far, plays about 17 minutes a night, 6.8 points, 6.9 rebounds, and a block and a half a game is pretty good on 71% from the field and 33% from three. He's showing a little bit of a, hey, I can shoot them every once in a while if they beg me to do it type of 3-point shooting ability, which is not by any means he could shoot threes now take, but he is doing it sometimes and making them sometimes. As far as the defensive switchability with Rob, that is the thing that I'm a little bit curious about in terms of mobility with his knees. How does that hold up? And to that point, I do think Nimi is underrated at this. I don't have any examples. I have no metrics. I just have mental memories of the eye test of me being like, not bad. And there are times he's going to get cooked. But I think for a pretty strong 7-foot guy that is a main rim protector and really makes his money down low, he does a pretty good job if he gets switched out onto some of these guys. And it's impressed me at times this year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and complain if they go out and get Robert Williams this summer. I just think I would go in a different direction. Like, I would almost rather have another, like, I don't think you need another 3-and-D wing, but a 3-and-D guard. Like, add one more guard to that rotation. Like, Ayo Dosunmu is going to be an unrestricted free agent this summer. Perfect, right? Can score, great 3-point shooter, elite defender. Like, just kind of does everything. And then you also have an extra ball handler. You also have an extra 3-point shooter. You also have an extra this and that. I wouldn't hate another big. I guess you do kind of need another big if Vooch is going to leave. It just gets a little tricky at that point because, like, would you rather just rock with Nimi and Garza and then play Amari Williams some more minutes so you can add depth in other places, right? Because there's that option too. There aren't a ton of great big men, excuse me, available in free agency this summer. Like, it's nothing crazy. So maybe it's just more worth it to go and find another position of need and then make a trade for a big man if need be. So I don't know. It's something to keep an eye on this summer, but anyways, we can move on to the NBA section. We'll check out the NBA standings here. Not much has changed as far as I know. I don't think the
but there's
Celtics have moved much. There's a lot that's going to happen. Oh, that's true. Pistons are still in first place, 4 games ahead of Boston. Celtics now have a 1.5 game lead over the Knicks. Excuse me. You've got the Cavs in 4th behind the Knicks, and the Raptors and Hawks in 5 and 6. Hawks are only half a game back of the Raptors. Philly's only half a game back of the Hawks. Charlotte, who has jumped up to 8, is only a game back of Philly, but they are tied with the Magic in 9th, and then the Heat are 4 and 6 in their last 10, so they're actually pretty cold and are down in 10th. Half a game back, though, of 8 and 9.
We are in for a wild finish. 2.5 games between 5 and 10. Cinema. We are all headed to the movies. We're in line for the popcorn right now. We just paid $15 for a popcorn drink combo. We're bitching about how expensive it is. But this is going to be a finish to watch. Toronto at 5th, playing probably the worst of any of these teams. I know Atlanta, or I just mixed all the names. Orlando and Miami are playing kind of poorly, 4 and 6 in their last 10. in terms of I'm afraid of them levels, Toronto is the easiest first round opponent to me personally from a Celtics perspective. You know, that's how I watch the league. That's all I care about is what's going on with our fellas in green. The Celtics have played them really well this year. They swept the season series, or they have a chance to sweep the season series next Sunday when the Raptors are here on Easter. But so far, so good. Atlanta beat them, of course. We all were there. Celtics took care of business yesterday. Philly, they've split. And when Philly's healthy, they're a little bit more scary than the rest of these teams. And Paul George and Embiid are back. So that's something to watch for. Charlotte is extremely scary right now. 7-3 in their last 10 winners of 5 straight. They play Philadelphia tonight as we're recording this. So this will look probably a little bit different in the morning. Either Charlotte will have moved even with them or there will be more of a gap. And then Orlando, I'm excited to get another look at Miami because I don't have strong feelings on them. My only take on Miami is if they go up big on Boston, shrug. They just give it up. The game in Miami, Celtics came all the way back.
I don't think Miami's very good.
Anthony Simons brought them back from the dead. They trade Anthony Simons. They go down by $1 billion at the Garden, and then they come back again in the Vucevic debut. Like just really, really terrible stuff from Miami when they have taken a lead in Boston. But any of these teams could be an opponent. Grandy put it out again today. I'm going to try and pull up the refreshed percentages for first round opponent. He has it Charlotte 19%, Atlanta 19%, Miami 17%, Toronto 15%, Philly 15%, Orlando 14%. But of course, the play-in still has to happen. There's no way of knowing. As of today, it doesn't really feel like the Celtics are going to take a step back from second in the East unless they get their ass kicked on this road trip, which could happen with Jaylen maybe being out. But they have a 2-game loss column advantage on New York with a game to play against the Knicks on April 9th. So essentially the reason why it feels safe is because they are in control of their own fate. If they just win games, they'll be good. There's only 9 left. Like there's only so many opportunities for them to mess up. So that's something as a Celtics fan you should probably feel good about. New York has played an extra game. Yes. They've played one more game than the Celtics. So Boston is in control. It's just a question of can they take care of business? And the way they've played lately, you should feel like yes. And the way they've played with guys out, you should feel like yes.
Yeah. I think it'll be good. I'm excited for the play-in race. The Western Conference, meanwhile, Pistons have clinched the playoffs. The Thunder and Spurs have clinched the playoffs as well. The Pistons have actually clinched, or the Spurs and Thunder have actually clinched their divisions. Thunder only 2.5 games up now on the Thunder, thanks to the Celtics. Up on the Spurs, I should say. Lakers in third. They're 9-1 in their last 10. Nuggets are 8-2 in their last 10. They've won 5 in a row. The Nuggets are jumping into that third place position. You got the Wolves and the Rockets in 5 and 6. Then you've got the Suns who still have carved out that 7th seed just for them. The Clippers only 2.5 games back at the Suns at this point now. They've won 4 in a row. And then the Blazers and Warriors battling it out for the 8, 9, 10. And then the Pelicans, Grizzlies, Mavericks, Jazz, and Kings have all been eliminated from playoff contention.
So we know who's going to be there in the West. Just a question of where they're going to be. Honestly, West boring. Yawn at the top. Those two teams are really good. The Lakers are not on the same level. They've, no one has made any ground or lost any ground of that trio over the last 10 games. Denver finding their footing at this point of the season from a Celtics perspective is a little bit scary because they are probably the team that's played Boston the best consistently throughout this Jaylen Jason era. Like it feels like Denver always beats up on Boston. 2 of the worst Celtics losses this year were at the hands of the Nuggets. Minnesota, of course, beats the Celtics on Sunday. Houston had a big win against them earlier when Steven Adams was still playing for them. I feel like he was a big difference maker in the Celtics matchup, but they just don't like each other. Bill Simmons said this on his podcast, and I saw the clip after he brought it up. So I think it was Minnesota came back from the dead to beat Houston in overtime. And
Houston was up by 15 in overtime.
Crazy.
Minnesota went on a 15-0 run. They erased the biggest deficit.
Scoring 15 points in overtime is crazy to begin with. Never mind 15 straight. So that's an incredible feat. But there was a play where Şengün had a chase down block and just fell on his face and busted his lip open, and no one cared. Like Reed Shepherd came over to him and like tapped him. Nobody even looked at him. The body language, the chemistry on this Rockets team is disgusting. Feels like Ime is on the hot seat because they just suck. It's like they can't get to their potential, and they've been below expectations largely this season. And then the play-in teams are just weird. Like Phoenix has been good at times this year. They gave the Celtics a hell of a fight at the Garden last week. The Clippers having won 4 straight is kind of exciting because I would like to see the Clippers compete. I like Kawhi. I think he's a really fun player to watch. Them having traded Zubac and weathered the storm is a little surprising to me. And then, honestly, that should just be it. I know there's only a game and a half, 2-game difference between the Clippers and the Warriors and Blazers, but I just don't feel like, especially the Warriors, belong.
You know what you should be rooting for? You should be rooting for the Nuggets to pass the Lakers, because then you could have. Or wait, no, no, you would need the Lakers. I was trying to eye a Clippers Lakers first round matchup, but it's impossible. You would need the Clippers to jump up into 6, and it's just not.
They'll never play each other in the playoffs. It'll never happen.
Have they still never?
I don't think they've ever played each other in the playoff series. We can look it up. Let's see, because maybe there's like seasons I don't know about.
I have no idea.
Let's see. They've never met in the playoffs.
Wow. Well, there's a chance this year. You never know, because I guess theoretically the Clippers could upset their first round opponent, right? Because they're going to play the Spurs or the Thunder. No, it's cooked. Ignore me.
Well, they probably won't. But if they did upset the first round opponent, then they would be on that same side of the bracket.
Yeah, but it's going to be the Thunder or the Spurs. So they're cooked. I would say they're cooked. Anyways, last NBA thing before we get out of here. The NBA has come up with new ideas to get rid of tanking. The expansion is also coming. I think we talked about that too, but that's pretty cool. It was like officially voted to start the process to a degree. But the tanking ideas, anti-tanking ideas, Shams tweeted. The NBA presented 3 comprehensive anti-tanking concepts to its board of governors Wednesday, with modifications expected to each. Before a formal vote in May, per ESPN sources. 1, 18 teams in the draft lottery, seeds 7 through 15 in each conference. Flattened odds, with bottom 10 teams having an 8% chance, the remaining 20% odds distributed in increasing order for 11 through 18, and a lottery drawing for all 18 picks. 2, 22 teams in the lottery, using 2-year record, seeds 7 through 15, plus the 4 playoff first round exits in both conferences. Lottery teams would each reach a minimum win total in each season, such as 25 wins. If a team fails to fall short of the floor, it gets slotted to meet the floor. What does that even mean? Top 4 drawn as part of the lottery, as is currently. 3 is 18 teams in a 5x5 lottery. Bottom 5 teams have equal odds for the top pick, with lottery formed for picks 1 through 5. Bottom 5 teams have a floor at 10. Those that fall out of the top 5 get sorted into a separate drawing.
I don't know what that means. What does that mean?
It's all terrible. You're telling me, so in the first scenario, the second scenario, where it's the lottery is 22 teams. 2 years ago, when the Bucks got eliminated by the Heat in the first round, the Bucks would have been in the lottery after being the 1 seed. Theoretically. Right? Really? That's what we're doing?
Well, here's the thing, right? If you want to fix tanking, you cannot expand
thank you.
The window for teams to tank. Like, if you're like, man, I really fucking hate when teams tank. You don't want to go into the playoffs where you're like, oh, it's actually like, if you're all right, think about first of all, the NBA put the play-in place to try and combat tanking. They wanted to encourage teams to get in and try and compete to be 9 and 10 and give them an opportunity to try and rescue their seasons, even if they didn't get off to a great start or whatever, right? Like, essentially, like, I think the play-in's stupid. I don't think it's like exciting. Usually, like, teams don't go far out of there. Miami and LA doing it in the same season was weird and fluky. But I think, like, the only thing it really does is, like, if Indiana, right, played halfway decent this season without everybody, like, let's say the Pacers don't have a billion injuries mixed into this season, because they did. They had a lot of guys get hurt, a lot of guys missed time, and it's a large reason why they have the worst record in the league right now. Let's say they were on a similar track to the Celtics, but maybe not as successful. Like, maybe they're like hovering around. They would be encouraged to try and compete if they felt like Halliburton was coming back, because they would have a chance to sneak in through the play-in and then maybe make some noise. Like, it opens the door for teams that have met potential disaster to not buy into the potential disaster. If you're looking at the same thing, thinking about last year's playoff series between Miami and Cleveland, where like every game was a 40-point game, you could have teams trying to do that on purpose because they're just like, well, we're not going to win anyway. We're outmatched. Who cares? Why even show up for the playoffs? We can just get in the lottery if we lose this first round series. Like, if you're losing a playoff series, you should just never have any consolation, honestly. Like, you should also just have to deal with the sting of, damn, this sucks. We lost. Like, it shouldn't be like, what if we get the top pick now? That should
They'd be
not be
ruining the
first
product
thought.
too. Like, they'd be ruining
Yeah.
up their television product. My whole thing has been tanking is inevitable. Teams are always going to tank. The only possible way to completely get rid of tanking is to get rid of the draft, and that would destroy the league because then teams like Memphis and Sacramento would just cease to exist, right? So the real question then is, how do we stop teams tanking for so many years? And the answer to that is to shorten the lottery, is to shrink the lottery. There's no point in expanding it because then you're just giving the Jazz and the Nets and the Wizards the likelihood that they're going to have to tank for 2-3 more years. Like, they're just going to have to tank longer. And then at that point, other teams are going to be tanking too. So you're going to have more tanking. If any of these go through, we're going to have more tanking in 3 years, not less. There's going to be more tanking. If you shrink the lottery and do only I think 6, the worst 6 teams in the league can be in a lottery for the top pick. Bang. That's fine. Teams are still going to tank because inevitably teams are going to want to be in that bottom 6, and so they're going to try to get lower. But like, at least the best teams will get what they need more significantly, and do it on a 2-year standing system. I actually like that. I don't hate that. The WNBA does that, so it's the last 2 years of bad basketball because the Pacers are bad this year, and it's gonna suck that they're not gonna get anything, or it would suck if they did a 2-year. But injuries suck. Sorry, like that sucks. Like, they don't need it. The Pacers are gonna be good next year. Cam Boozer, no Cam Boozer, they're gonna be good. They're gonna be a good basketball team. They don't need it. The Nets are not going to be a good team in 5 years, Cam Boozer or no Cam Boozer. That's not how it works. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it sucks that Halliburton's hurt and missed a year, and they're going to be fine because they're already good. They don't need a top 5 pick. They don't need it.
I understand the argument. You know, we've had this conversation. I feel somewhat differently about that. I just think if you get fucked for a season, like, you should have something to show for it. But I understand the purpose is to help the teams that actually suck, like that. But like, at the same time, like, knock on wood, you know, like let's not, like, I don't want this to happen. But let's say that was like an injury he could not come back from, Halliburton. So they lose Halliburton forever. Yeah, like,
yeah. Then in 2 years, then they'd get back in the lottery. Then they'd be back in the lottery.
So they would have to, but they would be punished because, like, they had a freak thing happen to them.
They're not punished. Yeah, it sucks. It's a freak thing.
Punished for being good.
Yeah, that's life. that's just life. Like that's how it works. Like, that's everything. Like, that's how the NBA works. Teams are bad and then they're good again, and injuries happen. Like, it sucks, but it's just like it happens, right? Like, I mean, I'll put it this way. Like, I don't want to get dark, but if a player retires or, God forbid, dies, like, that sucks. But they don't just get a top 5 pick because something tragic happened. The Celtics, like you're not just gifted stuff because bad shit happens. Like, it just happens. It sucks. Don't get me wrong. It sucks. It's fucking terrible. But saying, like, Tyrese Halliburton's hurt this year and the Pacers, who were just in the finals 10 months ago, deserve a top 5 pick because that sucks is pretty fucking disrespectful to the teams that have been horrible for half a decade and probably need that in order to reset the cycle of what teams are good and bad again. Because that, at the end of the day, that's the whole point. Because if the NBA didn't give a shit about not having the same teams at the top, they'd just do it. They'd just abolish the draft. Like that, they would just get rid of the draft. But obviously, that's not good for the league because you don't want the same teams at the top every year in and year out. So, like, that is kind of how it is.
Yeah, I mean, also just, like, besides, like, the injury point, like, Sacramento was good a couple years ago, but, like, for the large part of 20 years, they've been ass. You have to draft well, and you have to
You
put a
do.
team together well. Like, you have to put good play. You have to find the right pieces to go around your star. Like, they had DeMarcus Cousins, who was good for them for years, but they still never really they never made the playoffs with DeMarcus Cousins. But with the rest of these teams, the reason you said it, this league is always going to have tanking. And I truly don't even understand the people that are like, man, this is a real problem. It's like, well,
Yeah, I don't care.
the only way the NBA could fix tanking is if they just change the rules of basketball and were like, okay, 10 guys on the court at the same time. Because then you would actually like the requirement or the standard for building a good team would stem beyond like one good guy. Like, you couldn't go in and be like, all right, if we just get this one good guy, then it's going to change the course of our franchise. It would still be
But also ruin the sport.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's just not feasible
Yeah.
to do that, because the nature of basketball is if you have somebody who is good at the top, if they're good enough, they can do anything. They can make any team
In theory.
at least competitive. Like, if you think about the way people talk about some of these LeBron teams, where it's like, man, that Cavs team he took in 2007 was dog shit. True, but you can look at that as if you're a bad team and just like, man, we just get that one guy. It'll change everything for us.
Maybe to counteract you, or to account for your point of you got to draft better, maybe you can't have a top 3 pick 2 years in a row. Maybe it is
that's
the top
fair.
6 teams is a lottery, but if you fuck it up one year or you get a bad draft class, unlucky. That sucks. Tough. Try again 2 years from now, and if you are bad enough to get a top 3 pick, you just bounce back to 4, and it goes back from there.
I mean, the 76ers were bad on purpose for a half decade, never made it past the second round. And they picked first multiple times. They picked Simmons and they picked Fultz.
But they were competitive.
But they were competitive.
But it cycled.
They got out of the lottery, but they never quite achieved what they hoped that they would achieve. And the reason why they did it that way, to be there repeatedly, like you said, not having and I agree, like not having a top pick in consecutive years is a good, like, top 3 pick, gatekeep it, whatever. But they did it because they're like, all right, shit. Like, if we just do this for one more year, we have one extra guy that's on a team-friendly contract for a couple seasons too.
They also got really hurt.
They did get really hurt, and that's part of.
I think there was a string of top 5 picks that all got hurt for entire seasons, like back to back to back.
That might have been by design, some of it, like just holding guys out. But the injury luck is not to be discounted. Like, Embiid clearly has had injury problems, and he had injury problems to start his career. Ben Simmons has had back problems. Markelle Fultz had like really bad, just whatever happened to him once he got to the league. But as far as like, I just don't think this is as big of a problem as everyone thinks it is. Like, they hate that it comes back from the All-Star break, and teams are like, how can we maximize this season for what it is? I mean, even coming into this season as a Celtics person, right? Like, I was like, what's really going to matter in 5 years? If they're fun or if they get a good pick and it's a player they have under team control for years. I'm not saying that I wish that they tanked, but if you're building a team and your sole job is to make your team better, and you think, oh, I can get something from this and guarantee that I get a top X pick in this draft. Let's see, if you're in the bottom 4, you're guaranteed to not fall that far back. So in a deep draft like this, you're feeling pretty good about what you can get. The answer is just simply teams have to draft well to build teams in the NBA nowadays. If you don't draft well, you'll never have the flexibility to move players. If you draft poorly at the top, then you end up desperately extending that player because guys don't hit free agency anymore. I mean, I guess we saw restricted free agency hit a standstill last year a little bit, so that's some progress for those hoping that there are other ways to build teams. But for the most part, teams just keep their guys as long as they can, and they have no choice because there's no free agency. There's no way to just use that cap space elsewhere. You need to keep the cap open so you can match salary and trades and so on. And the only thing teams want to trade their star players for are other players that could become stars or draft capital to pick more players. So picking is the most important thing. Why would you not try and give yourself the best chance to do it?
Yeah, that's the inevitability of the NBA. The only one thing that I kind of liked, although I'm thinking of it more, and there's definitely like stuff that would go wrong. I think you told me this, maybe you didn't, and someone else did. The whole concept of you're not allowed to own your own pick, I think is fun. Like, it's basically
I've enjoyed thinking about that.
Yeah.
It's just like roulette.
Yeah, like but then the problem is collusion, because if you're the Nets and the Wizards, you GMs just go to a coffee shop, say, hey, like, don't win this many games, like handshake. If you do, like, we're going to expose you for colluding with us, and vice versa. And then they just both lose, and then it doesn't matter, right? Like there's going to be that, like they just swap first round picks. And so like there is inevitably going to be problems with that too. There's always going to be problems. I truly believe it's an untenable solution. It's unfixable. Like I don't think there is a perfect way to fix it. I think the best way, in my opinion, and my opinion, take it or fucking leave it, like shorten the draft lottery, 6, maybe 8 teams, used over the course of 2-year records to account for that. Because then, for as much as it sucks for the Pacers this year, they're going to be better next year. Like they'll be fine. They will be fine. They'll be okay. And they'd still get a top 10 pick or whatever, because they'd just be slotted in at 7 or 9 or whatever it is. So they'd still get a chance at a good pick. And then if you have a top 4 pick one year or top whatever pick one year, you're not allowed to be there the next year. And so you would just immediately bump back, and the rest of the lottery would just slotted right behind you. I feel like that's probably the best thing, because again, making the lottery bigger will only make more teams want to tank. And we're going to inevitably have playoff series where teams are not going to want to win it, and that's going to suck.
Also, if you're a fan of a tanking team, like, I'm not rooting for this. I don't want to go through it.
But look at the Kings podcast. Hilarious.
Well, that's not even what I'm saying. Like, you're also like still in like a competitive setting. It's just how ass can we be? Like the Wizards and Pacers were in a heavyweight boxing fight, losing 15 and 16 straight games respectively. And
that's fun for you because you get to watch as not a fan of that team.
Well, if I was a fan of that team, you would still be rooting for the outcomes of games. You would just be rooting against your team because you want to get a top pick. And like, as much as Silver hates that, like, those teams are not actively trying to be competitive in the present, they are doing what they can to be competitive as soon as they can be.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all a game. Who knows? I don't know what they're going to do. We'll see. Ratless, Sam, what do you got?
Ratless is the Massachusetts Department of Transportation. Yesterday, I was driving home, as I start every Ratlist. I was driving home from the Celtics game, midnight on Friday, bumper to bumper traffic on 93.
Yeah, road work.
They got one of them signs up that like will say click it or ticket, don't drink and drive, whatever. And it says right lane closed, merge left. All I see is brake lights for like as far as I can see. Get up. Then they're doing road work in the left lane. It's the big sign that says go right. Tell me which lane to get in. If you're going to have the sign on that says, hey, go this way so we can prevent traffic because we're doing work, at least make it the right way so we can all get to where we need to be. And then you have the people that don't want to let you. No. Then you have the people that don't want to let you merge over as we're all not moving. And like, I can't get out of the place that I'm not supposed to be. Like, why would you have a miscommunication with where we need to get out of the way? That makes no sense. And it's an absolute sham. I will say, if you're going to do road work, it should be when I can't see anything. The sun should not be out. But for it to be that badly backed up because your sign does not tell people the right thing to do, someone should be fired. I'm calling for someone's job. Fire him.
Yeah, I agree. So I feel a little bad doing this rat list because it was just like it was an old lady. I'm pulling into a one-way street, right? I'm about to go down a one-way street, and this lady with a walker is like walking very slowly, and I'm like, fuck, okay, I'll wait for her to cross. She stops in the middle of the road. I don't think she realizes that there's cars waiting, and she's has like a walker with a carriage, and starts like rummaging through, and she's trying to put a hat on, and then she's just standing there in the middle of the road, standing there. And then she starts walking again down the street in the middle of the road. I had to go around. I had to like go find a different path to where I was going. She just no awareness of what was happening. It was unbelievable. And I was just sitting there. I was like, all right, time to go.
Man. It's the shit like that really makes my blood boil. Like it's just the things that like, especially like that, like you're not really supposed to get mad because it's an old lady, but like she was still in the wrong. Like just don't do what you're doing in the middle of everyone's day. One of my biggest driving pet peeves is what, like, this happened to me today. I was driving back from, went to get food with some friends for somebody's birthday. the people that just pull out of where they're like trying to turn out of and just sit blocking 2 lanes of traffic until the opening comes for them on the opposite side of the road. So this guy does that today, and then there's somebody else who is trying to turn into the area where he was coming out of. So this guy is blocking 2 lanes of traffic. The person is blocking him because he's trying to turn left. That person is in between him and the lanes that he wants to turn into. And then the traffic that this idiot has blocked is blocking the guy from getting out of his way because there's nowhere for us to go. Like, that should be a ticketable offense if you're just like, hey, I'm just going to stop in the middle of the 2 lanes until I have the way to go. And I know it's hard sometimes, and you kind of have to like be a little aggressive to get out of.
You got to nudge a little bit.
Like, don't just be like, all right, like I'm getting out one way or another, or you're gonna.
You know what though?
Me.
I also blame the people on the opposite side who didn't let him in. Just fucking let him in. He's got to go.
Yeah,
he's got to go eventually. Just fucking slow down and let him in. So I see both sides. I have an OG Google Earth rat list.
Oh
here.
Yes.
So you've probably driven here, Sam. I was here. Are you familiar? You're leaving the garden. You need to get on 93.
I muted myself. Yes, I'm very familiar with this area right here.
So I needed to go 93 south. So where was I, Sam? Where was I?
You should have been the middle lane.
Bingo. Middle lane. I can read. Middle lane. Knew where I needed to be. And I get it. Sometimes you don't know where you need to be. That's tough. And you need to figure something out. I go. And we're going. And for those who aren't familiar with this, let me pull forward a little bit here so you can see where we're at. This is what it looks like. It's fucked. It's really bad. This is the right lane. You go here and you go to the north end. And then this is the middle lane. You go down this left tunnel. This is the left lane. You go in the left tunnel, right? And listen, if you're in the left lane and need to go in the other tunnel, or the middle lane and need to go in the left tunnel, that's pretty easy to figure out. You just zipper when you get to the tunnel spot and it's fine.
Correct.
What you can't be is in the right lane and try to go in the tunnel. That is the problem. And if you do, you need to be very careful about how you do it. You need to wait, find a spot, and go at the last second, right? You need to get out of the way, let people go. You be very careful. I pull forward from the middle lane. Dude from the right lane, whoosh, stand still. I lay on the horn. They're about to hit me. I slam the brakes.
Yes.
They cut across all the way to the left, to the left side of the tunnel. I flip them off. I honk. Michaela's not happy with me.
Oh, they hate when you get road rage.
Listen, and I get it. I get it. I get it. I get not liking the angry. We were maybe 2 feet from getting rammed. Maybe 2 feet from getting T-boned by this guy. I was like, unbelievable situation. I was furious. Unacceptable. If you're in the right lane, suck it up. Go around. Go to the north end. Find a different way. You fucked up. Deal with it.
Well, that's the thing about this is like, so I will defend the people in the right lane because it does say 93 on the thing. And if you're not paying like full attention to what the sign says, you may think that you can get in the tunnel. But what I will also say is if you're trying to go like, and you end up like, oh, fuck, like I didn't get on, like
you
that
stop
is just,
and wait.
Well, not only that, like you just go around. Like it's a big circle. It's not hard to get back to where you're at trying to get in the tunnel or to get in there another way. There are a lot of ways to get in the tunnel from that area. The thing that makes that merge in particular so difficult is Jack showed you like the point of view where you're driving towards the tunnel, like the intersection. There are people from the opposite side of the intersection also trying to merge in at the same time. And in that area of Boston, they have lights timed differently for different directions. So like if you're going over the Bill Russell Bridge, one side goes and then the other side goes. And they should do that for that section because maybe it's really bad for traffic at peak driving times, and which is why they don't do it. But when you're trying to merge on there, it's really difficult to kind of integrate with all of the people coming from different directions.
I was driving Michaela home and I had dropped a friend off in the north end first. And it was like the Bruins game had just gotten out. So it was bad. It was real bad.
You know, the Bruins really create a lot of problems. We don't really talk badly about the Bruins.
As if the Celtics wouldn't do the same exact thing.
The Bruins, it's cold in the Garden because of the Bruins. You got all the noise. You got the people getting executed in the back of our show because they're moving all the stuff around so the Bruins can play. What do the Bruins even do? What do the Bruins do? Nothing. They do nothing. They're a very mediocre staple in Boston sports, which is a category of greatness.
I do wonder because I'm so Celtics sphered, and most
Me
people
too. I know nothing about
listening.
Bruins.
Yeah, well, most people listening to this wouldn't be able to tell me either. So I'd be curious to poll the general sports fans. My roommates try to tell me that Boston is a hockey town and the Celtics are probably the least popular team here, and I refuse to believe that. I don't think that's true.
I don't think
all.
that's true. It doesn't feel like it's that true.
I mean, like I said though, I'm so
They should be the most
job,
popular.
so I'm here.
They're awesome.
I feel like it's probably the Pats, the Celtics, and then I don't really know. I feel like the Bruin. Like I just think basketball is more popular in general. But maybe I very could just be biased.
I think the average person just likes to say "Go Sox," so the Sox get like put in there somewhere. I mean, we both like the Red Sox, and the Red Sox have the luxury of being the only show in town from June to September,
and it's
before the Patriots start.
Objectively, in my opinion, it's objectively the coolest stadium of any of them by far. I don't think it's close. And don't get me wrong, I love the Garden, but just it's just
No, it's cool. But what I'll say about that is like the Red Sox have been largely like not trying to win since 2018.
Not anymore though.
And the Celtics haven't missed the play. Well, yeah, they seem like they're going to be good this year, which is exciting. But the Celtics haven't missed the playoffs in over a decade. They're always in the mix. They've made 8 of the last. They've made the conference finals a lot. I don't know what the number is off the top of my head.
A lot,
but they've made it a lot. Like they're always playing deep into the season. So the way the Patriots like rose to popularity because they were just always good for years, I feel like that is happening with the Celtics more so than like your friends that are Bruins fans are telling you. Maybe I'm wrong about that. And if you're in the comments that have like more of a neutral perspective, please share that because I don't know. I'm just a dumb guy that, I mean, nobody's dumber than me when it comes to things I don't care about. So what can you do?
My last rat list is I was in an Uber and it got me mad for the person driving the Uber. My street is one way. And so I will often just walk in the middle of the street, the direction I can see the cars. And if a car comes, I'll just get on the sidewalk. Like, fine. We were walking or driving down, about to get dropped off. And these two guys with like golf clubs in their hands, because there's like a golf sim place by my house, were walking in the street and then just didn't get out of the street. They just like stayed in the street and went around the car. Just get on the fucking sidewalk. What are you doing? And don't get me wrong, my sidewalks are kind of fucked because there's a lot of like poles and stuff just in the sidewalk, and they're not large. Like it's hard. Move, like you gotta move. Like there's a car.
I'll say it. Pedestrians get too much leeway. I hate to say it.
I agree.
It is so.
As a guy who does
so much more freedom of movement than cars. It is so easy for you as a pedestrian to accommodate the people that are driving. I don't know why there are laws like that enable people to just be dickhead pedestrians, but there are. It's because they're vulnerable. It's like because they can get absolutely smoked by a car. Go ahead.
I was driving through, light turns green, people just start walking in the crosswalk. I'm like, hey guys.
Oh, I hate that.
Hey guys. And they don't have, it was a small crosswalk, so there's no like stop and go sign. Just look. You can see the same fucking light I can see. Are you stupid? And the guy who was walking behind them was like, nah, go. Like I was like, thank you, fucking normal human being here. Like, if you're gonna walk, you gotta know the lights. You gotta know, oh, that one's green, so that one's definitely still gonna be red. I have time. Like, if you're gonna walk without the crosswalk sign, you gotta understand the timing. And if you don't, wait.
To be honest with you, this reminds me, crosswalk signs are on my rat list this week because they do not work the way they should work. They don't come on when they should come on. Like, I shouldn't be able to like be like, there are no cars allowed to come where my intersection is, like where my crosswalk is, before the sign tells me that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I shouldn't be able to see the intersection that I'm trying to get through and be like, cars are going the same direction that I'm walking. So there is no way that anybody can possibly drive through the crosswalk.
You said you should be able to see that.
I shouldn't be able to see it without the thing on. Like, if I can notice that I have no cars driving where I need to walk, the light should be on that I can walk.
Oh,
and
yes.
it is not always on. And I don't know why that is. I was walking yesterday. My girlfriend and I just went for like a long walk. And I was like, this is so stupid. The thing should be on. I don't know why it's giving me the hand. I was in Providence. There's a lane that comes off of 95. It goes up. And it basically is like a side street to 95. So it's only one way. And there's no cars allowed to come from it's a red light. It's a one way. There's a red light for the side
cars couldn't have turned from somewhere else.
No.
Okay, that's
no.
Weird.
They couldn't have turned. They weren't coming. My light wasn't on. I was like, why is the light not on? This makes absolutely no sense. It's disgusting. That needs to be something we're better at.
Did you just walk anyways?
Yeah, I walked anyway.
Okay, yeah.
But I hate that I have to stop and think. Like, don't make me do the car math. Just tell me I'm allowed to walk.
I agree. I don't think I have
Final rat list is places with 2 small seats. Went to a comedy show at PPAC. Never been to Providence Performing Arts Center before. Beautiful venue. Happy I got to see it. But it was like being in like the economy section of the airplane. And shout out to the girl in front of me that just every time she thought something was funny at this comedy show, she threw herself back into the fucking thing and hit my knees. Big credit. I've just been thinking, like, my new rat list in my head is like, well, you got to give these people credit. Got to give them credit. Like, they're just complete dickheads about whatever they're doing. So I've actually been remembering way more of the things. I'm just conscious. I'm like, well, credit to that guy. Just fucking dumbass.
I love the movies, but I like going to the Dolby ones only most of the time because you get the seats,
it's
like the big arm, like the lean back seats. Yeah. Those rock. I feel like I had one more that I was going to say, but I forget. Anti-ratless basketball shot lights out. Couldn't fucking miss. It was great. Awesome day of basketball, club ball.
I said this to Jack yesterday. I was like, there's actually nothing better than having a good basketball run with people that work on the beat, because then you get to the arena and all anyone talks about is how good you played. Like, one of the first times I played at Globe Ball in a while at the beginning of the season, it was like me, Jack, and a few other people, and I got to the Celtics game the next time, and like word had traveled that I had played well. Everyone was good. I heard you were really good. I was like, yeah, I was fucking good.
It's a good feeling. It's a great feeling. But that's all I got for today. I don't know if you have anything else.
No, I don't have anything else. Probably will have stuff this week. We're traveling, so Jack and I are going to go through fucking hell, and we're going to see how it goes for us. We're nervous. We're collectively nervous on this show.
Yeah, it's going to suck. But appreciate y'all for tuning in. Leave a like, subscribe. I'll let Sam take it out.
Hey, thank you very much for listening and watching. Make sure you leave a like, comment, subscribe. We're here every single day with new stuff. Full pods drop Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Game recaps are up more after each game. Other videos are here in between to keep you up to date with all things Celtics. You can find the 2 of us streaming pregame live a half hour before each tip-off. Come hang out with us. And Nick NBA, he's been awesome with us this year. We love having him on the show. He's been a regular, and we bring in special guests on occasion too, so be on the lookout for that stuff. You can find us on Spotify and Apple too. All pods and recaps there. So if you just want the audio stuff, it's there. Follow, subscribe, 5-star review, tell your friends. We'd appreciate that. You can email us, hbtcpod@gmail.com. Big shout out to Rob. Big shout out to RJ, who both sent in emails today. hbtcpod@gmail.com. Read them every time we record a full show. Our socials are How About Them C's for Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Facebook's just the name of the podcast. All streams are there. They're on YouTube. They're on Twitter. Jack's Twitter is Jackson NBA. Mine's at Sam LaFrance NBA. That's it for us. Bye.
Taco. Come on.
Taco's having some fun here.